Julian, grab a hold of that. Tell me that doesn't feel like a cock.
You know what? I'm not going to grab a hold of that one.
Well, too late. It's already in your face and it's in your ears. It's another Off the Top podcast. How's it going, everybody? How'd you like that one, Julian?
Aggressive, but it definitely caught my attention.
And that's what it's going to be about today. I mean, that intro is a little bit of foreshadowing of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about just kind of like really weird and outrageous marketing schemes that have been done over time. And Julian knows quite a bit about marketing. So he's going to probably be our tour guide for today about, maybe, oh, this is actually interesting or what. But Julian, just so people know, what are kind of like the principles of marketing? What are they trying to do while marketing?
So really the four fundamentals of marketing comes down to the 4 Ps. So you have product, place, price, and promotion. And essentially product is the product, place is where it's going to be, and how you're going to price it. And we'll be focusing on the promotion aspect because to get your product out there, you're going to have to capture attention some way, whether that's organic or through commercials or through, viral campaigns. There's going to be a way you have to get it there. As they often say on Shark Tank, how are people finding your product? And today we're going to go through some of the wildly successful, wildly unsuccessful ways people have gotten your attention through marketing.
Yeah, and so I'll just start right away with one that I feel like a lot of people know about is Pizza Hut. So Pizza Hut had a Facebook post by their Canadian branch, and it was a post that literally said, "Do you love the smell of a box of Pizza Hut being opened?" ? And the whole thing was like, I guess there's a picture of a cologne bottle on there, and it got huge responses. They were inundated with posts and comments and everything like that. And in 2012, they actually made a Pizza Hut cologne.
Yeah, that's not for me. But seeing the way that early 2000, late 2000s, early 2010s, I guess is the way you'd say it. Very interesting use of Facebook is when, brands really started to branch out. But Pizza Hut cologne is just not for me. I'm not a Pizza Hut guy. Sorry, Pizza Hut, if you're listening. I would love to work with you, but your smells just don't do it for me.
But thank God it does it for a lot of people, because one of the most odd marketing schemes that I think probably worked flawlessly, considering the hundreds of thousands of people that got involved off of kind of just one wacky post. And then a whole cologne line launched after, well, not a line, but a whole cologne launched after that.
Yeah. And the amount of what I'm thinking about is the amount of money Pizza Hut probably put into R&D to get a Pizza Hut flavored smell. I wonder if that cologne was like pepperoni scented or strictly just pizza scented of whatever that waft of smell was.
And here's a perfect example of a time where I'm going to ask our listeners, if you have the Pizza Hut cologne, if you know of somebody who has a Pizza Hut cologne or somebody that just kind of smells like Pizza Hut, comment or, reach out to us and tell us what that smells like, because there are inquiring minds that need to know these things.
And this makes me think of, I think recently, the past 3 or 4 years, Burger King did a similar thing where they did like a very limited run of a Burger King Whopper scented cologne. And at that point, it didn't really catch on as well as they'd hoped. It was more like a viral thing where people were sharing about Burger King. And hey, maybe some people went there, but I just couldn't do a fast food cologne. That's just me.
Yeah, and I think that not a lot of people can, but maybe it's just the novelty of being, I'm one of the few, or check out this funky cologne I got that Pizza Hut only made for, 100 customers, because that's what it truly was. In that particular instance was Pizza Hut didn't have a cologne, but when people started like freaking out and like they got a lot of attention, then they made the cologne in response to the huge popularity of that post.
Yeah, and something that I can think of very similar to that recently is what IHOP has done. So the International House of Pancakes, as we know, changed to IHOB for a little bit, International House of Burgers. And it kind of set like the internet world on storm, saying like, who buys burgers from a pancake place? Why are they doing this? Is this real? Some of their bigger stores are actually changing their signs to IHOB. And it went on for like a couple months. And there are speculations that this wasn't affecting business. There are speculations that it helped business a lot. But in the end of the day, what it really did for that promotion piece was like, I hadn't been to IHOP in 5 or 6 years, and I was talking about IHOP for no reason.
Exactly. And I think that's what it's all about, like you said, is to get the name of whoever's marketing what into the common lexicon of people or get it trending, for instance. And so I think that it's so odd to now have social media where you can reach millions of people in, a couple strokes of your fingers on a keyboard. And that's where I find, this game of weird marketing schemes gets like, turned on its head almost, where you don't need to have money, you don't need to have a big production, you just have to have a good idea for something to go trending.
Yeah, social media is a really big double-edged sword in marketing. You either do have this great campaign that really hits it with the audience and maybe, plays an emotion card or plays to people's interest, and you put a lot of money towards that. And that same campaign you could put a ton of money towards and everyone's going to hate it, or everyone's going to ignore those ads, or it isn't going to go viral. But, that's how things work in marketing. And one of those things that went huge on social media was the Make-A-Wish did this program called Bat Kid. And essentially what Bat Kid was gave this kid who was diagnosed with cancer a day to be essentially Batman. So they turned San Francisco into Gotham City for the most part. They scheduled different events around the city so people could go to this and see, Bat Kid roll up with Batman and take on Penguin or take on Joker or Bane, and just kind of spread through the city. And the city truly adopted it and was everywhere and was treating this kid like a hero. And it ended up getting like 89 million impressions on social, like I think 3 to 4 million views on YouTube, hundreds of thousands of shares. And it was a huge hit for this kid.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't particularly hear about this, but it sounds like a lot of people did. And that's there's so many things to go over in that whole instance of, obviously it's so commendable that they were doing something amazing for, a child and helping him live their dream or, his dream. But also in the aspect of what a grand scheme of just reach that propelled throughout the internet and throughout people of, close in San Francisco and around the world. Just crazy.
Yeah, really cool use of social there. And one of those marketing campaigns that turned out to be, wildly successful for this kid, brought awareness to Make-A-Wish. People, were donating hundreds of thousands of dollars while this was going on and be encouraged to. Just a great way to, give this kid the day he wanted and help Make-A-Wish kind of rise and grow awareness for them as well. And that's one of those ones that did, tremendously well. But as we said, there are some marketing ideas that are tremendously bad.
Yeah, exactly. And so one that I found very interesting was just the another Burger King one. So I'm going to loop back, like you mentioned before, Burger King. But Burger King had a promo about basically, and get this is in very bad taste, but they had two things. I'll talk about the promo first. The promo was to sacrifice people for a Whopper, is basically what the ad was about. And so, yeah, just off of first blush, you're like, what in the world is Burger King thinking? So the whole premise of it is that you download this Burger King app and you have to delete 10 of your Facebook friends. And then you'd get sent this free Burger King coupon or free Whopper coupon from Burger King. And the whole thing is that the people that you deleted were notified that you deleted them and why. So you had this kind of just torturous, I don't know what this would be like, but just people unfriending their friends left, right, and center, and ended up reaching over 200,000 people got deleted 10 friends and got the free Whopper. So basically out of, 50 cents worth of like material, they were taking down friendships.
That's a very interesting method. I could kind of see the other side of, some people on Facebook have hundreds of thousands of friends that they merely know or don't know. And I could see that angle. But yeah, there's a ruthless play to decrease, 10 of your friends for a burger that's usually like, I don't know, might even be on their value menu at this point.
Yeah, truly. I mean, it was, I think that it was like a success as far as, the outreach, but also kind of like an amoral move by Burger King in the fact of, if you truly had just true friends on your friend, like Facebook friend group, and a company was asking you to ostracize 10 of them, then that would be a very weird thing for like, material gain. And if those were your real friends, granted, you're right. A lot of people have friends on Facebook that, used to be their neighbor back in 2006. But imagine if you had to delete your grandma or your aunt or your dad from Facebook to get a Whopper.
Yeah, it'd be a tough decision. I mean, put a little bit more at stake, and I'm definitely open to it. And one of the other campaigns that I think was a really, really weird marketing ploy was when iPhone put the U2 free album on all iPhones. I don't understand why they thought this would just fly under the radar and be okay. Whose idea was like, you know what? Let's invade everyone and in this update, give everyone a U2 album. I don't know how many people listened to U2 at that point in time. And then have to release extensive instructions on how to remove the album from your iPhone library, which is absurd to me.
That seems very totalitarian, even for, a company like Apple, and the fact of you can only play with them if you are, have one of their machines. So that's very interesting. And not to say that I wouldn't encourage Apple doing that with an off the top podcast episode, but I'm saying you two might be in a little bad taste. Maybe consider us.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really odd, something you don't see, I guess, as technology improves. You just don't see companies placing albums or things onto your phone. It just feels like a weird invasion of privacy. And I don't know, it just didn't do very well. Like, people were very upset. I mean, that's probably when some people even switched. Imagine being so upset about an album showing up on your phone that you switch from iPhone to Android or, a different platform.
It's very, very weird. And maybe in the aspect of people find their phones as like a personal privacy or personal diary, in the aspect of once you find that Apple, added something to your phone that you didn't consent to. I mean, like, actually like, oh yeah, I would like you to put this U2 album on my phone. Then I could see people being very upset in the fact of just reaching over that boundary that a company has. I mean, yeah, they have the power to put anything on your phone, really, but should they? And especially to people's personal devices, that's where I think people got upset. But, I'm Team Android, so I can't be, Google's never put a U2 album on my phone, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah, it just sounds like another marketing blunder that happened in today's society with, many marketing blunders that happen all the time.
Exactly. And so I want to talk about one that was actually really interesting that I found almost a little alarming, but very, very, in a very innocuous way. So Colgate had a marketing campaign to target children. And first off, yes, in very, very bad taste. But get this, it's actually a very interesting way of targeting a child audience, and I feel like in a good natured way, and for the benefit of society. So Colgate collaborated with a Thailand ice cream maker to have their sticks shaped as Colgate toothbrushes. So as the children were eating down to the core of the ice cream bar, they ended up seeing this toothbrush with a Colgate logo on to remind them to brush their teeth.
it's kind of a cool guerrilla marketing style of doing things, a little out of the ordinary. And I think what's really clever there is obviously most of these kids, when I'm thinking about it, are, you know, aren't the purchase makers. So like in marketing, you'll have the decision makers and like the purchasers. And so essentially what Colgate is doing here is really interesting way of targeting the kids to tell their parents, you know, hey, or be aware, like I need a Colgate toothbrush, like it's good for ice cream or whatever it may be. But a very interesting ploy to targeting kids is always a little skeptical.
Exactly. And so at first blush, when I saw that, I thought to myself, this could go really bad. I mean, targeting children or people that are very impressionable in the first place is, I would say, not one of those things that people would normally accept or think is a good idea to do. But in this instance, doing it for something, you know, that will improve the general health of somebody, and granted, in a very innocuous way, you know, just saying, hey, you guys should brush your teeth more, especially if you're eating ice cream. Colgate with a wink and a thumbs up or whatever is more or less, you know, not hurting anybody and helping people out. But if they were like sneaking this into, let's say, breaking into people's cars and leaving like Colgate toothbrushes, that would be a little different style. Or, you know, sneaking into schools there, then we could, you know, draw the line. But I think Colgate danced a very fine line on this one and kind of walked out unscathed.
Yeah, not a bad idea. But a bad idea is I love a good use of poor translation. And it happens all the time when, you know, you have a very good American or English speaking campaign and you want to cut some cost and just use like a very simple translator to translate it to other countries. And sometimes, most of the time, it's okay, but there's few times where it comes back to bite these companies in the ass. And a good example is Ford had a pretty good marketing campaign for their Pinto. And unfortunately, they opened this to international. And so they're marketing the Pinto in Brazil. And because the term in Brazilian Portuguese is a little bit different, it kind of backfired. So when Ford is marketing their Pinto, it roughly translated into Brazil into tiny male genitals.
No.
And I don't believe that sat well with the males trying to purchase a car at that point in time.
That nothing would single-handedly ward me away from making a purchase than knowing that people would correlate what I am driving in or own or am around for me having a, you know, small piece, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like the reverse effect of driving an overly sized truck. It's the same thing. Tiny male genitals, Pinto. Now you know. And another one very similar was Braniff International, the airplanes translate a slogan. Essentially, it was "Fly in leather." They, you know, embroidered these onto their seats, and when translated into Spanish, the mix-up became "Fly naked," which could be tempting to some, could be off-putting to some. I thought that was interesting to have embroidered on your seats when the Spanish person comes in, the shock on their face to read, "Fly naked, looks like I will."
Yo, could you get mad at somebody if they started stripping at that point? If you were gonna, you know, if you put something on the seat that kind of condoned an action, would that in fact, you know, give freedom to the participants or the passengers to follow suit? That's quite an interesting, just horrible translation. And it's such an oddity to have companies make almost like elementary blunders like that.
Yeah, I guess for the Braniff one, it depends on how you felt about flying naked. But as long as you didn't drive a Ford Pinto, you'd be okay.
Yeah, in that case, I mean, imagine what a hard time it would be if you figured out what Ford Pinto was all about in Brazil and you all of a sudden were suggested to fly naked in that same sense. I mean, that's just kicking people while they're down, guys.
Exactly. Another big one I was thinking about was in 2004, Oprah did her, big giveaway, right? And Pontiac thought it would be a great idea to give Oprah 204 or 220 free Pontiacs to give to the audience. And that's the meme, you get a car, you get a card, you get a card. Everyone's freaking out and everyone's getting a car. Awesome. But on the back end, right, it was kind of ill-willed because those people who got the car essentially still had to pay the sales tax on it. So I believe it was $7,000 for each individual who had a car, right? So obviously people freaked out, and then it turned out Pontiac had to in turn pay all of the sales tax for all of those people, even if people were, selling the car and all that and putting people in different tax brackets. They dealt with a bunch of lawsuits, and, it was awesome because everyone got a car, but the meme is you get a car, not you get a Pontiac, you get a Pontiac. So it just kind of washed everything out for them.
Wow. Looks like that one bit you in the butt, didn't it, Pontiac? But I mean, nowadays, I think it's a survival, it's called survival bias when you only think about companies that have survived tough times. And obviously, Pontiac's not one of them. So that's so interesting that they ended up doing something so kind of, largesse and, giving, like such a charitable thing, to have it like turn around and just attack them and you know, horribly like screw everything up and make things so much harder.
Yeah, just not the greatest of ways to get your product out there, I would say.
Exactly. But that reminds me, I want to circle back to your Brazil, the blunder with Ford and the Pinto in Brazil. So there was actually a really cool one that I found in Brazil, and it happened to be with a Brazilian toy maker. So before I butcher this name, I want to apologize, but a company called Volta Ferroama was a toy maker in Brazil, and they had discontinued a toy train. And to figure out if, the market wanted this toy train back, what they ended up doing was almost creating a life's or, the toy train, running it through a city. So what they had is a toy train running through 12.9 miles of track. And they had volunteers that would extend the track. So they would, once the toy train rolled across the track, they would pick up the track, run to the beginning, set the track down, and did that for 12.9 miles. And it ended up becoming like such a success and a warm welcome that they ended up remanufacturing those toy trains.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a lot of track. I just picture, them only having like 60 pieces of track and continuously having to run from the back to the front to do it. But that's pretty cool. It'd be, if you live there, it'd be something interesting to see. I bet you there are a few people who try to like follow, the train for the full half marathon, 13 miles essentially. But a very clever way to get back in business.
Exactly. And in that sense, I feel like it's such a cool idea too, because of, the people that'll see just a toy train running through a city and having that almost be childlike and mysterious in the sense of what is going on, and, leaving people asking questions and wanting to know more, which I feel like is somewhat of the goal of marketing, is getting people to think about and talk about what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and one of the things Megamind, the movie, did really well to get people thinking and talk about them was they did Mega Month. And essentially what Mega Month was trying to break various world records throughout this month to promote Megamind. And they broke, quite a bit, but the biggest one they were most notable for was they set the world record for number of people dressed as superheroes in one place at a time, and that was 1,580 people. So a really cool way to kind of promote a movie by breaking world records. And, once you break that world record, Megamind's in there for Mega Month, and all these people also are getting recognition. It's bringing all these people together for a fun cause and be in the great Guinness Book of World Records, and kind of keep that name in there for a while and just have some fun while doing it.
I think that's the perfect way to go after almost a marketing scheme or ploy in a very grand scheme and lighthearted way and almost fun instance of, let's just get people that are passionate about something and let them know about something that we think they would be passionate in. Just like, Megamind being somewhat of a superhero animation movie, and having those people get involved is, I feel like, the perfect direct line of, we have this, we want to get to these people, how do we do it? So very clever by them.
Yeah. And one of the last ones I have on my list is just really poor taste. So obviously, in the past couple of years in the States, there's been some tension between law enforcement and different activist group, and some tensions between different activist group and different supporters. And Pepsi came out with this Unity commercial where they had hired Kendall Jenner to be the star. And the premise of the video is Kendall Jenner's, there's this big riot going downtown, and all these people are fighting with the police for, what they believe in. And, Kendall Jenner somehow lands this really, crisp and cold Pepsi and is walking through the crowd and hands this Pepsi to, law enforcement, and then everyone's buddies again. And once that aired, people flipped out, like saying that Pepsi was using, their platform to commercialize their product. That's not how it works, like making people look super simple-minded. Like Kendall Jenner was getting a lot of backlash for being the model in there. And it was set to be this giant worldwide campaign for probably, 3 to 5 weeks, and ended up getting pulled within like the first couple of days it was airing.
Wow. I mean, I definitely remember that Pepsi commercial, and, people having very, very polarizing takes and ideas on it. And I think that that's, a lesson learned for companies to, tread lightly. If you're trying to get creative with the marketing scheme, that's perfect. Just make sure that, it's always in good taste, because you will get burned if it is not, or, like it's seen as not at the time.
Yeah, there's always a lot of angles in marketing to understand. And sometimes you got to take consideration into what you're doing. Is it going to help you in the long run? Is it going to affect you in the short run? Are you going to lose money? Are you going to make money? How's it all going to work? But I mean, you just got to capture attention and hope all works well, I guess.
Exactly. Well said, Julian. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I want to thank you guys for listening one more time, and, listening to us on all 12 platforms that we're on, and, reaching out to us with kind words, and, just saying you're enjoying the podcast. And whoever sent me this air guitar that I got in the mail, I really appreciate it. So if you want to send me more of those air guitars, I'm more than willing to accept them, and I'm already getting a lot better. So I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, and if any of you have, the Pizza Hut cologne or the Burger King cologne, reach out to us via email at the off the topcast Gmail. Or, find us on social at Off the Top Cast on all social platforms. Get in touch with us. We'd love to interact with you, and we thank you for listening.
Peace.